Hi, my name is Jessica. I work with Isaiah Jerez. I run his pre-litigation department, and I've asked Samantha Martin, one of my very dearest friends, to visit me today and have awesome conversations. Thanks, Samantha, for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's
Thanks.
nice to be here.
So, obviously, I love you, I know you, but a lot of people don't. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right. So I was Samantha Martin. I was originally born in Texas, but I haven't lived there since like 1990. Moved to Las Vegas, grew up here, did all my schooling here, went to Bonanza High School, then went to Arizona State for undergrad, then went to Chicago, which is where I did law school. Law school 3 years in Chicago, practiced for 3 years, and all I've ever done is personal injury, which is, how I met you. And moved back to Vegas, like 11 years ago, and started at a different firm, one of the largest personal injury firms in the state of Nevada, which is how you and I met. And I was their senior litigator there for about 11 years. And then recently started my own firm, Martin Injury Law. So that's
right. You just did. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Big
Thank you.
Coming for Sam Martin Law. I'm so excited for
Hopefully.
that.
Hopefully.
That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's a long time coming. It's going to be great. Just got that started and doing personal injury. Same old. So yeah, that's pretty much me. I'm married. I have a little girl. She's 3.
Adorable.
She's
Sophia,
adorable.
Sophia with an F, by the way.
With an F. Adorable, but also she has developed my personality for better or for worse. I feel sorry for Nick, my husband. Poor man is so poor guy. He's good. Poor guy. But
that's awesome.
So yeah.
How did you know you wanted to be a lawyer?
So I was in theater when I was younger, like all growing up. My dad used to own a service station in Amarillo, Texas, which is where I was from. And I think he put me in a commercial when I was 3. And so I've been doing theater or in front of cameras and stuff like that my entire life. I was in theater all through high school. And I knew I wanted to act and be in front of a crowd. But I really like food. And so the whole starving actor thing wasn't going to work for me.
You wanted to eat?
I wanted to eat actual food and not ramen and cereal. So the starving actor thing wasn't going to work for me, but I wanted something where I could still be up and be in front of people. And so I decided to go to law school because a jury is a captive audience. They can't go anywhere. They can't leave halfway through. They're stuck. And I knew I wanted to do personal injury because it's not just money, but you're going against insurance companies, these big businesses. I mean, look what they're doing in California, right? They canceled all the fire insurance. And so
that's so crazy.
It's awful. It's terrible. But so as personal injury, that's what you're doing. You're going against these big insurance companies and you're getting money from them because they've denied fire claims or justice for people who've been injured in a crash. And so I knew I wanted to do that as opposed to criminal law. That is not my jam. I have friends who do it.
Yeah.
I don't think I could represent somebody. Everybody deserves a lawyer, but I don't think I could represent somebody who is guilty, and I don't think I could persecute somebody who I thought was innocent. So I just knew that wasn't the jam for me, but I knew I wanted to do something where I was doing trials and in front of people. So I've done personal injury my entire career, almost 15 years now. 15 years in October.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I don't think a lot of people realize, I think, people who aren't in the legal industry, they see shows like Law and Order and they just Suits. I love that show.
Oh my God, I love that show.
Harvey, I love you. So, I think when people watch shows like that, they see lawyers in front of juries at trial, at court. And what's funny is there's actually 2 sides to it, right? I do pre-litigation. Mm-hmm. I'm rarely in court. I deal a lot with the adjusters and the insurance companies directly.
Right.
And then if we unfortunately can't, resolve the case successfully in that stage, then it goes to a litigator such as yourself.
Right.
Right. And then that's when the front jury judge action, and some people I think, love that. And I've talked to some lawyers who don't love it. Totally fits your personality.
Yeah,
you're
I
a
love
great
it.
Trial lawyer.
Yeah, it's I love it. I love being in front of a judge and arguing with defense counsels and stuff like that because it's fun. My husband he's like, when I start like to yell or like get on him, he's like, have you argued with anybody lately? Like, have you yelled at a defense counsel? I'm like, no, not recently.
Can you find someone else to yell
He's
at?
like, go yell at one of them. Leave me alone. I'm like, okay, yeah, sorry about that. Like, my bad. Let me go find a defense counsel to pick a fight with. But yeah, it's fun. I love it. But it's very different. I love the show Suits too. But one of the things that always drove me up a wall is they'd be doing depositions. And as you know from the time that you did do litigation, a deposition is kind of like an interview where the other attorney gets to ask a party or a witness, what happened? What did you see? What did you observe? And without fail on Suits, it was always like a little camera, and they would be sitting on the other side, and both Harvey and Mike would be questioning the witness, but there was no court reporter. I was like, this is not what is happening? This is not a deposition. What are you guys doing? And they were like, this deposition's over. We've won the case. And I'm like, that's literally not how it happens.
Yeah.
I wish I had cases like not how it happens.
Yeah.
But yeah.
On average, how long once a case has to go into litigation, because I get this question from clients all the time, right? How long is my case going to last? How long is my case going to last? And I'm like, on average, I don't know. I mean, there is literally, every case is so different,
Yeah.
What's the longest case you've had last? I think you've had some where they even went to the Supreme Court, maybe? Was there some cases that you were on?
Yeah, I had a couple cases that went up to the Supreme Court. The trial that I did, where I got almost the $1 million verdict on the shoulder surgery, I did that with another attorney in town, Chris Burke, and we had an amazing award that is actually right now, it's up on the Supreme Court. And I think that crash happened like 2017. So that case is old. One of the cases that I settled last year, a slip and fall, that was 2020, so that's not that old. But I think I had one that was like from 2016. That was a motor vehicle crash that was in the federal court that I ended up settling. So it just depends. I think the longest case I had was probably like 6 years old.
And how do you handle that question when clients ask you? Because I get it all the time. How long is this case going to take? How quickly can you settle my case? Like, how do you handle that question?
For me, it depends on if it's a slip and fall or a motor vehicle case, because I think they're very different. I guess I think they kind of they're handled a little bit differently. I tend to think that slip and falls take a little bit longer because they're fighting over more stuff. Because when you slip and fall somewhere, there's always going to be a portion of blame on the person who fell, right? Because everybody, whether it's true or not, it's like, why weren't you watching where you were going? Why weren't you looking where you were going? Well, nobody walks looking at the ground, but okay. And so that is they always fight about that more. But typically, I've seen people be a lot more injured in slip and fall cases. Because when you fall and you hit the ground hard, you could break hips, break legs, really rupture your back. So I say a slip and fall, I tell them it takes about 1.5 years from the time the case is filed. And that's,
best case scenario.
Best case scenario,
right?
Yeah. You get a judge, and by the time you get a judge, that's 4 to 5 months, because Clark County is so behind and there are so many cases filed here. So you get a judge, that's 5 months. And then discovery, the period where you do all the investigations, typically about 1 year. And then, you'll want to do a little bit of motions. And then, so I say it's about 18 months for a slip and fall and about 1 year for a car crash, unless it's some crazy liability, fact situation. So I'd say about 1 year to 18 months is kind of what I average tell them. But then I always say, listen, it could settle tomorrow. I could file this lawsuit and they could be like, you know what, uncle, here's a bunch of money. Or like the last couple of cases, we could be here in 4 years.
And you can go to trial and then still have to argue issues in front of the Supreme Court.
Exactly. Then you can go to trial and you deal with the appeal, and then it comes back down. And so, but yeah, you never know, because you're right.
Awesome.
Every case is different.
Yeah.
So.
And when there's one thing that I've noticed, when clients come to us, repeat clients, they know the second time around, hey, guess what? Last time you told me to get this thing called underinsured motorist coverage, and I got it. So, let's make sure we have that covered. And I just find it crazy that there's so many people driving around that they don't even know what that is. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and why it's so important in a case, or just to protect yourself driving around?
Yeah. Everybody should have uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage on their insurance. Usually it's like $15 a month. It's not that expensive. And so in Nevada, our state minimum coverages are $25.50. And for people who don't know what that means if you're in a car crash and the person who hits you has a $25.50 policy, the most money you as an individual is ever going to get is $25,000. You could lose your leg, you're getting 25 grand, period. If you and I are in the same crash, the most we'll get combined is 50. So because our minimum coverages in Nevada are so low, it's important as a driver on the roadways to get coverage for yourself. Whereas in that same scenario, let's say I have uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage of $100,000. I get hit by a person with $25.50. I get the 25 from them, but then I get my own $100K. It's kind of insuring yourself against the idiots that are driving around.
I know, and it's so great. And I tell, because people will come to us and they're hit by somebody and they're like, and that person didn't have insurance, so now what? And
right.
I'm like, well, let's hope that you protected yourself from that exact scenario because they have insurance for that, which is what they call uninsured, underinsured.
Yeah.
And what's crazy to me is that not too long ago California still has a 1530, right?
Yes.
I think that's what their minimum is.
Yeah, California's 1530.
Which is crazy to me because it's one of the most expensive states to live in.
Mm-hmm.
And yet their policies are still so low, which
right.
is crazy. So being so close to California, we have a lot of commuters from California.
Yep, a lot of California drivers on the roadways.
I mean, and the coverage will change as they cross state lines, and that's legalities that, your lawyer will definitely help you with. But it's just so important to protect yourself because nobody's going to look out for you. You have to do that for yourself.
Absolutely.
So yeah. I love that you brought up the California thing because I was talking to my friend the other day about it, and apparently insurance companies were canceling fire insurance policies the week before the fire started because they were aware. Did you hear about this?
I didn't hear it was because they were aware. I heard that it was because some of the big name insurance companies canceled the fires because they had paid out, because California, every year you're going to get a wildfire. You live in California, you're getting a wildfire.
Kind of like if you live in Florida, you're going to get hit by a hurricane.
Exactly.
You got to have the coverage.
Exactly, right? Which is why you live in Nevada, because we have no natural disasters.
Right. Yes. Global warming.
Yes. Lake Mead starts rising. We're like, wait a minute, what's going on? Because Farm State, we'll call it, was basically we don't want to pay anymore because every year we're paying out all of this money for these homes that get burned down, and that cuts into our bottom line and cuts into our profit. We don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. And the week before the Palisades fire, State Farm canceled a bunch of coverage, and all these people are now I don't have a house. What am I?
I heard 80,000 residents or something. Their fire insurance coverage was canceled.
Yeah. I was talking to my mom actually on the way here about the same thing, and she said she was watching the news and there was a lady who had lost her house in the last big fire that was a couple years ago, right, and lost her house. And again, no insurance. And she and her husband were fine, you know what? They rebuilt, started over, and they just lost their house again in Pacific Palisades. And again, no insurance. And they're we've lost again all of our photos, all of our clothes, twice they lost their house and they did not get insurance covered.
Well, oh my gosh. Hopefully they hire great lawyers to fight these insurance companies, and that's why
you gotta get one. Yeah.
That's why there's a lot of lawyers in town. Sometimes people say, why are there so many lawyers? And I'm like, because the insurance companies do things like this and we have to constantly bring the fight to them.
Oh yeah, because they don't want to pay. An insurance company, it's crazy because it's they're supposed to insure you for the worst times in your life, when your house gets burned down, when you get in a car crash and you can't work. That was the purpose, and that is what they were started for all these years ago. And there used to be a trust between the people who were insured and the company. When I am at my lowest, I've paid you this money all these years, you're going to help me out. Somewhere along the way, the insurance companies are we could do that. Or we could keep this money. Or we could just keep this money for ourselves and have, record profits, record breaking. I mean, the same thing with health insurance, what happened with the United Healthcare guy, right? We can just keep all this money and instead of paying out, deny. And then, you need people like me, people like you to fight and actually go and get verdicts so that these insurance companies start paying out and actually start doing what they were supposed to do, or originally, all those years ago. But
Absolutely.
we'll see.
Yeah.
So
Thanks. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your
Absolutely.
busy day. I know Martin Law is super busy doing great things. I can't wait to see, and hopefully we can bring you back for another podcast to see how you're doing at the end of the year.
Absolutely. I'd love that. That'd be great. We'll circle back and see kind of how it goes. And yeah, anytime you need me, give me a call.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam.